There's a problem going on that I've spoken of before. The problem seems to be increasing. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Our special assignment unit has learned of serious allegations of improper training in connection with a Las Vegas-based service dog business that shipped several animals to our area for months. Reporter Andrea McCarran and photojournalist John Moger have been looking into Diabetic Alert Dogs of America and customer complaints that it's not delivering what it promised to the parents of children struggling with a life-threatening disease.
Families in all 50 states and across Canada are paying thousands of dollars for a service dog that's supposed to help type 1 diabetics. But we've uncovered more than 24 clients, dog trainers, and veterinarians across North America with deep concerns about Diabetic Alert Dogs of America. But we also spoke with a dozen satisfied customers, references provided to us by the company. $15,000? This dog that barks in public, growls at people, has accidents in stores, cost you $15,000?
We honestly would have been better off training ourselves with no experience. I sent it to my mom, and her response was, "You paid $15,000 for this?"
How can you deliver a dog that you say is a trained service dog? They can't wash out on a flight.
Oh no, you'd be surprised. I believe that they can. I believe that some dogs get traumatized by going through TSA security, getting on an airplane.
No. What do you have to show for that $9,000 your family pulled together?
Absolutely nothing.
These are just a few of the customers who trusted Diabetic Alert Dogs of America to deliver a life-saving service dog. They expected perfectly behaved animals like the one shown on the company's YouTube channel. Service dogs to alert them to dangerously high and low blood sugar levels in type 1 diabetics. Dogs that could prevent seizures or worse.
This dog is supposed to prevent things that could cost you your life.
Instead, they've spent up to $15,000 for this.
She's hooked up. Sandy, knock it out.
We showed these videos to Debbie Kay.
That's a very fearful dog.
She's a retired government scientist who set up the explosives detection program for the ATF to train its first agents and instructors.
Come on, puppies.
Kay has also bred and trained Labrador retrievers since 1969 and has served as an expert witness in dog training cases.
But for a dog to show that level of stress, it tells me that there's something very wrong going on.
Her expertise is training dogs in scent detection, including Diabetic Alert Dogs.
I wouldn't have taken any of the dogs that you've shown me here and placed them already with clients as fully trained dogs.
Under the Americans with Disabilities Act, a service dog is allowed public access, the right to accompany its handler inside stores and restaurants.
Just on obedience, none of these dogs are safe and under control. And those were the two criteria of public access.
How they can do this with a clear conscience is beyond me.
Tammy Rivers bought Chip to help her teenage daughter.
She's very brave, but she doesn't know when she goes to sleep at night if she's going to wake up the next morning. And I don't know that either.
But watch how Chip reacts when Tammy's son walks into the room. Keep in mind, this is 5 months after the dog joined their family.
A disaster. Disgusting.
A trained Diabetic Alert Dog can often detect highs and lows before a continuous glucose monitor like this, but not Chip.
No, leave it.
And they tell you that it's your fault, you're the one that needs to bring the dog back for training or retraining because you messed it up.
She contacted the Director of Operations for Diabetic Alert Dogs of America, Ed Peoples.
Ready to go?
Go.
We tried to interview him in Las Vegas, but his plans changed.
Use the right lane to take the I-495 East ramp to Baltimore, Silver Spring.
and he agreed to meet us at Newark International Airport between flights.
Hi, Ed.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Thank you for coming.
Peoples was returning from Canada after delivering the company's 408th service dog. Among those deliveries, this dog.
How do you explain that you delivered that dog as a service dog?
That dog was delivered over a year ago. What this client did with its dog in a year, I have no idea. I have no clue what happened.
So you're saying that dog was somehow traumatized between delivery and that vet appointment?
She had the dog for a year. I don't know what she did.
Hey, Lucky.
Sorry.
And I'll be honest, I'll say this right on camera. If they're willing to give me back the product, I'm willing to give them back 100% of their money without any question.
But multiple families have asked for their money back.
They refused the refund. They said they were a nonprofit.
He told me they were unable to do that because they were a nonprofit.
Ed said no, that they don't make any money from these dogs, that they're a nonprofit.
What happens is sometimes they take my words out of context. We are non-profit or we are no profit. We don't make any profit off of these dogs.
We've confirmed Diabetic Alert Dogs of America is not a nonprofit.
I'm not trying to get you agitated.
No, I'm not agitated. Sorry, I get excited about this kind of stuff. I'm not agitated, I'm excited.
We traced the company address to this 4-bedroom, 3-bath home in Las Vegas, owned by company founder and president Dr. Jennifer Caldy. She's not a veterinarian, but a local chiropractor.
So his name was Lucky. I was kind of down on my luck, so when they presented me with a dog, I figured it's kind of a sign.
What was it in the paperwork that really caught your eye about him?
It said that he was spayed, so it definitely wasn't my Lucky.
You're sure he was a male?
He's definitely a male.
I personally dipped into my 401k.
We had to borrow money from almost everybody in my family.
And Patrick had to cash in some bonds from his childhood.
But they were convinced it was worth it to help break Patrick's cycle of frequent hospital stays.
As soon as we came across another dog, his whole temperament changed. He would stand on his hind legs, he would be aggressive to the dog, start barking, and it took all I had to control him.
It was like babysitting a toddler.
The family made the heartbreaking decision to send Lucky back.
You can't just give away a family member like that.
You don't know what happened to Lucky?
No, they told us up front they were just going to resell him.
Oh, good girl. Good job.
Carrie Martin says her dog, also named Lucky, does alert her. But the dog's behavior is so poor, she can't take her out in public.
We used the prong collar they gave us for about 18 months. To correct her, they told us, oh, you're not doing it hard enough. Oh, you need to, get a shock collar.
Tell me about her missing teeth.
So Lucky has 4 missing upper incisors. Something that we've discussed with the vet is very, very uncommon unless there's severe facial trauma. She also has some scars on her face, and one of her dew claws also was ripped out.
Her dog's missing some front teeth.
Sure.
And I thought that was really odd for a lab. How did her dog lose her front teeth?
I didn't know anything about it until she sent pictures, and this was 2 years after she had the dog. So if it happened under our watch, of course that would be very concerning to me.
But we looked at the company's own website and saw these photos of Lucky before she was delivered.
Should all your trainers be training service dogs? It's hard.
Oh,
you
yeah,
have
for
to have
sure.
a lot of patience.
Sure, you're right. Oh no, I'll be the first one to say I've fired many, many trainers. I mean, just like any other business. If I ever found out any of my trainers ever did any of that, they'd not only be fired, but they'd be in jail because I would report them, 100%.
So your trainers never use physical force?
Absolutely not. And if I ever find out about it, they're fired and in jail.
Sandy, knock it off.
And you consider yourself a top-notch dog trainer?
The best. I consider myself one of the best in the country. Absolutely.
We did call every one of the 27 references provided by Diabetic Alert Dogs of America. Clients, the company said, were happy. 12 of the 27 returned our calls to confirm they were satisfied customers, and their dogs did alert to high and low blood sugar levels. Andrea McCarran, WUSA 9.
The Diabetic Alert Dogs of America delivers about 100 service dogs a year, and it says it is proud of its Better Business Bureau's A+ rating.
Unfortunately, this kind of thing is becoming more and more common. Not too long ago, there was a German Shepherd trainer that was busted for this sort of thing. More recently, there was a gay couple in Texas, 2 women, that purported to train service dogs for people with disabilities and collected thousands and thousands of dollars for it. They would take in people's own dogs to train as service dogs, as well as collecting dogs up. The dogs are living in an animal hoarding situation. They ended up having to be rescued. There were health issues because of the poor conditions. There was behavioral issues because of the way they were treated, and over half of them were so damaged they could never be service dogs again. And now we have this. First, to start off, I'd like to kind of do a run through of what I do, or what I used to do. As I've gotten older, my disabling condition has gotten worse, and I'm less able to do the in-person one-on-one that I used to do. Now I do a lighter level of mentorship online when I'm up to it, when I can. But what I used to do was I was a private service dog trainer, or I am a private service dog trainer, and I would mentor owner trainers. And what this means is that I would assist them in picking out an appropriate prospect for the work. I would do all the testing, all of that to figure out what the best prospect was for the work. The dog would remain in their home with them from beginning to end. And I would be available 24/7, 365, even in the middle of the night, to guide them. I would teach them, this is how we're going to teach this maneuver. This is how we're going to deal with this behavioral thing that's cropped up. If they ran into a problem, any time of the day or night, they could call me and say, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And it was my job to go, okay, well, what we were doing isn't working, so we're going to switch it up, and this is what we're going to do. In order to pass them through the training experience, because all dogs that are going to be service dogs have something. Some have more than one, but even the best service dog prospect will have something that is their bugaboo. They are, hyper interested in other dogs, or they're really over friendly and, they're obsessed with saying hi to people. I mean, everyone's got a thing that you have to work through. And that's what I'm there for, the problems and when it goes easy, all the way till the end. That is what I used to do. I did not take on dogs to bring into my home to train and then send out. There were occasions that one of my clients would be having a particularly bad problem with something with their dog, that I might bring the dog over to my house for a week or two for me to personally work on the problem and identify, what's going on and how to resolve the issue. There's been that times. But I don't take a dog and train it and then place it out at the end, all by myself, nobody involved. I don't do that. I don't like to do that. So that is the kind of thing that I would do, that I was doing. The problem with these fly-by-night little agencies, some of them can be very good. Some of them can be scams. You have to be careful. A lot of the agencies that have popped up for veterans are essentially like this, these scam agencies. But it's not just veterans dogs, it's for other disabilities too. They're popping up all over. And this is how they operate. So their focus is to make money. That's all they care about. They don't actually care about the actual service work or helping people. They want to make money. So they go around to pounds, rescues, shelters, and they collect up dogs. They'll also, if they find a dog on the street, they will take up the dog off the street. They will pick up, I don't want the dog anymore, dogs from ads like on Craigslist. They don't care where they get the dogs. There is no evaluation as to whether the dog is good for service work, or no real evaluation. They might say they evaluate them, but they don't. They don't have the first clue. They get these dogs in, they throw a little bit of training on them. Sometimes no training at all. Then they collect the money in and they send these dogs out. And they tell these people they're service dogs. Now, these service dogs, or so-called service dogs, are out in public and they're dangerous. Some of our fake service dog problems are coming from these dogs. But that's how they operate. That's what they do. My advice, and other people may have different advice. My advice, I feel that mentorship is superior. And the reason it is superior is because it is easier to maintain a dog's training when you've installed the training. You've gone through the process. You know what their issues are. You know what triggers them. You know what you can get away with because you were there on the front lines the whole time they were trained. Also, it gives a person the working knowledge they need to effectively handle this service dog while keeping its training up. The dog is not shifted from its mother to a care home, to a trainer, to maybe another trainer, to another home. When you do that to foster kids, they develop a problem with bonding. When you do that to human foster children, I don't think it's any better for dogs. It is better for a dog to go into the home that they're going to be in and remain there their entire life. There's a stronger bond. Dogs are designed by DNA to live in a pack their entire lives. Males may be driven out at puberty, but then they're expected to start their own pack that they maintain their entire lives. That's what they are engineered to do. So when you follow that as closely as you can, you're going to get the best results. My next option would be group classes. There is a fair amount of work, especially on public access obedience, that can be done in group classes. At some point, you're going to need to very finely individualize. But I believe a good trainer could do that with a small class under the structure of a group class. It could be done. My next preference, if you're going to hand your dog to somebody to train for you, would be a local trainer, a trainer within driving distance. And you're going to want to show up unexpectedly frequently. If something, untoward is going on with your dog, you're going to know about it. Showing up unexpectedly, you're going to see it, you're going to know about it, and can get your dog back and retrieve your dog. It's safer that way. My next preference would be one of the big, well-known agencies that have operated for decades, that have a good reputation. You're more likely to have good luck with them. No matter what you do, if you're handing off your dog to be away from you to be trained, you need to get everything in writing. Everything, a signed contract. And I'm talking about every command the dog needs to know, every concept they need to understand, every task they need to do, their expected behavior in public. You need to have it in minute detail documented and signed as a contract. It's the only thing that can protect you. These fly-by-night agencies, their contracts are very slanted to them and very vague as to how the dog's going to turn out. So if you take them to court, the judge said, well, it wasn't in the contract that the dog was going to do that or behave that way. Why are you expecting it? It wasn't in the contract. Make that contract detailed as all get out. Another thing, if I was dealing with a small agency, as much as possible, I would try to pay them a monthly stipend for the board and care of my dog. A small monthly stipend. And the large amount of money, I would pay them at the end when they had demonstrated that the dog could perform per the contract. Every task, every maneuver, everything. Once that was verified. And for the trainer's protection, I suggest the trainer gets it on tape, showing the client that their dog is properly trained. Get that on tape. Documentation is important for trainers too. I would not pay the large lump sum until the dog was performing and was proven to perform. Not once, but several times. So that we can see that this is the trained behavior of the dog. And that's a good way to avoid being scammed. Because if the dog's not performing, you know, you're still out money, but not $15,000. You know, then you can take them to court for the money you are out. You know, it's horrendous. That's as much as a car costs. This is heartbreaking. These people need these dogs. They get their hopes up. You know, they're promised these dogs, and then they get these out of control animals that act like they've just come out of a pound. It's so horrible. And it can be prevented if you are very vigilant about doing your background work and about checking. You know, you don't leave your dog somewhere that you have not personally visited at least several times. And at least one time unannounced. It's a good way to know what you're dealing with when you show up unannounced. Don't ever leave your dog somewhere. And I guess that's the best advice I can give. The very best advice I can give is research the crap out of somebody. References. See their facilities. Show up unexpectedly. Watch them work with other dogs, not your dog or not your potential dog. Watch how they handle the dogs. Get as much information as you can about every aspect of what, you know, they're going to be doing for you. You know, and then, Lord, don't pay that lump sum until the dog's proven to perform everything it's supposed to perform. For God's sake, with the little agencies, don't do it. If a trainer is a good trainer, if they have nothing to hide, they're not going to have a problem with this. They're going to understand why you're doing it, why it's necessary. You know, they're going to answer your questions. They are going to be transparent. They're not going to have a problem with any of this because they know where you're coming from. And they are about helping people. They are about getting the help to the disabled people. So they're probably going to even approve of what you're doing and think you're a very smart person for doing it. If a trainer or an agency fusses about that, run. Don't deal with them. Don't even deal with them. The contract. You get your hands on that contract before you sign anything, before you hand over any money. You know, you get that contract in your hand and you read it through. And if you don't understand what it says, then you get somebody in your life that might better understand to read it and talk to you about it. If you don't have that, pay $50 to a lawyer to look at it and tell you what it means and what the implications are. I can't stress this enough. This is why people are not being so successful at going after these fake agencies. Their contracts are really vague about what the dog's going to be like at the end. You know, it's slanted towards them, and people get so in a rush and so desperate that they just sign on the dotted line and they have no clue what they're signing off about. And then they hand over all that money. Don't do it. Do not do it. Buyer beware. Big time nowadays. Buyer beware. And another little bit of advice I can give. If you're disabled, legally disabled under the ADA, and you think you might want to get a service dog, what I would suggest is look around online. Facebook's an okay place. Look around online to find a decent service dog group. Usually they're owner trainers, but there might be some agency dogs mixed in there. Find a good owner trainer group. Join. Say, this is my disability. I'm wanting to get a service dog, and I could use any guidance you guys could help me with. The owner trainers, the agency people, they are more than happy to advise. And you're going to get different advice from different people. But, if the same advice keeps happening over and over again on a subject, it's probably pretty good advice. They can guide you. They can help you. They've been through it. They've been in the trenches. The people in the service dog community, they've heard about places that are more likely to be scams than not. They can warn you away from those if you say, well, I was thinking about going with this agency, and it's a bad place that we know about. Somebody's going to pop up and say, oh, you don't want to do that. This is why, here's some documentation on that. You might want to reconsider that. It can't hurt, and it probably will help. Handling a service dog, dealing with the problems in public, it's kind of overwhelming at first. It's nice to have a community that can kind of help you and give you advice and talk you through. That's what I would suggest. Before you even get the dog, before you decide on an agency or owner training, before, join up with a good service dog group online and, excuse me, and start getting their input. Holly's having a snit fit. Holly? Everybody's going outside. Anyway, that's what I wanted to let you guys know. Think about it. Be smart. Be safe. Till next video. Bye.